Man, oh man, guys, we have a lot going on today. First and foremost, Bill Maher, he got into a little bit of hot water. Apparently, he is speaking to young children about pornography. Is that appropriate? Is that not appropriate? I'm going to let you guys watch the clip and then decide yourselves. In higher news, we have Donald Trump on cocaine. I mean, like on the subject of cocaine, obviously. He completely knocked it out of the park when an interview with Theo Von. You guys are familiar with him. He has a great podcast. Trump sat down with him. I think brilliant move for the campaign. And they had a discussion about cocaine, which is trending. But first, I was going to announce to you guys that both of our Tate brother interviews, which aired last week, are past 1 million views because people really enjoyed that conversation. But guess what? I got to talk about something else because it turns out that this morning, the Tate brothers, Tristan and Andrew Tate, had their home raided again, for the exact same suspicions as the first time. They're looking for evidence of human sex trafficking and money laundering. And today I have an exclusive for you. So let's get started. Welcome to Candace. All right, let's just start here with the actual facts. So masked police officers in Romania carried out fresh raids early Wednesday morning, early today, at the home of internet influencer Andrew Tate and his brother. Now, they are currently awaiting trial. When I say awaiting trial, I mean they just keep waiting to be handed a trial date. They want to go to trial for the charges that have taken forever to even bring against them. To jog your memory, they were first arrested on a suspicion. In some countries, you can just arrest people without any charges, and they were held in a cell, not told when they were going to ever get out, or if they were ever going to get out, or if there were ever going to be charges brought against them. I think that's actually what drew in a lot of you to the conversation with Tristan Tate, him talking about the mental state, what it actually took for him to be in this small cell with cockroaches, and you literally can't even leave the cell. How do you get your mindset through that, not knowing if you're ever going to be allowed to leave the building? So he spoke about that sort of mental fortitude. And then after 3 months, they released them and put them onto house arrest. Still no charges brought against them until I think it was about 4 months later, they brought charges against them for human sex trafficking. And when I looked into the charges, I'm going to state this again. I have always been forthcoming with you about the fact that I have known Andrew Tate. I met him around the same time that I met my husband. Through my husband, he has always been friendly with me. So there does exist this pre-existing relationship. I had met him 2 times prior to me having interviewed him sometime last year on my old podcast. And he's always been friendly to me. So I just want to put that out there because I believe in radical honesty all the time. So essentially, I looked into that case because everyone was going, Candace, this guy's a human sex trafficker. And I would never, of course, endorse that. They said he was involved in the pornography business or webcam business 10 years ago. You're against pornography. Everybody knows I'm against pornography. It is not a business that he is in today. I am also against people thinking that people can't change. So I looked into this case because I wanted to come out and say, hey, I'm really sorry. If this guy is involved in sex trafficking in Romania, I will apologize to my audiences and I will delete his number from my phone. And I looked into the case, and what I saw was something that was horrific. And it wasn't because Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, in my opinion, were sex trafficking, but because it looked to me to be a tremendous intentional miscarriage of justice. I'm going to spare you the deep details here. I'm going to try to move through this quickly. But essentially, this case was brought about because a young woman got a flight paid for her by the Tate brothers to Romania. She wanted to go. She asked to go. And when she got there, she got bored. There was nothing for her to do. And I know this because her actual text messages are in the file. She starts texting with another man, and this man happened to have connections to the military or the state some way or another. And she's trying to get him to pay for a flight for her to go somewhere else on vacation. And so her and her friend begin texting, and they start laughing with one another, saying, like, what if we just make up that we're being sex trafficked? I've read these text messages. I am telling you, it was horrific to read through these 2 women laughing about pretending to be abused. So she says something along those lines to the guy that she's trying to get to fly her out of Romania, and he takes it seriously. He's very alarmed. He's not just going to book her a ticket. He's going to alert the authorities that this woman he believes is being sex trafficked. So he does that, and the authorities swoop in. They raid their compound while the girl is there. And as they are raiding, she is texting this guy, this would-be second guy who's supposed to pay for her to go on a flight somewhere else. And she says to him, like, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, you're ruining my life. How could you have done this? Like, you were just supposed to, and I'm being dramatic here, you were just supposed to buy me a free ticket somewhere else. I can't believe you alerted the authorities to something that I was just saying because I kind of wanted to go on another free vacation. I'm giving you kind of a very quick synopsis, but I'm telling you I looked into this case and that is what I found. And I was looking into it, particularly because it said that Andrew Tate had 4 women that were listed in this case. So I said, okay, maybe she started it. Maybe she's patient 0, right? But the facts are there were 4 women listed. Then what happened was 2 of the women that were other women that were listed said, we are not victims. And they produced videos and recordings saying that they were being drafted into this case for no reason and they were not victims. And then it happened again. Another woman withdrew herself from the case. So that's 3 women total who were put down as victims in this case who said, we are not victims. And it turned out that tons of other women who had nothing to do with anything, spanning all the way from the UK to Romania, were similarly receiving phone calls from Romania, receiving phone calls from authorities saying, hey, we need to speak to you, and asking them whether or not they were sex trafficked. So they are looking for the victims for this case. Now, what about victim 0, the one who started all of this? Well, let me ask you a question. Again, I like to go with common sense. If you were a sex trafficker, and you got caught and you actually did this to this woman, would you sue her? Because that's what the Tate brothers did. It was recently announced a couple of weeks ago that a judge in the United States, in the state of Florida, ruled on July 24th that a defamation lawsuit filed by Andrew Tate against a Florida woman, that is the victim 0, who accused him of imprisoning her in Romania, can go to trial. The judge ruled that the former professional kickboxer, who's 37 years old, and his brother Tristan, 36, can present their allegations to a jury that the woman in 2022 engaged in a plot to extort money from them. The British-American brothers say the woman falsely accused them of human trafficking and rape, costing them their freedom and millions of dollars in income from their social media ventures. So let's just pause there again, because forget what you're reading in the media. What does your common sense tell you? Okay? She is, again, victim 0. They are now suing her because she is an American in a Florida court, bringing forth all of those documents that I was telling you about that show that she was very much, in my view, involved in a plot that just went sideways. She wasn't even really, in my view, trying to take down the Tate brothers. She was in a plot to just get a free trip, as young girls want to do sometimes. And she's got a very murky and a questionable background, and it's good. I'm happy that that case is going to go forward in Florida. I am happy and hopeful that much of this information will be publicized in the way that it should be. And I am disgusted that the mainstream media will not report on this case as it is, in the way that I have, and I have received tons of flack for it, and yet no one has been able to present to me a counterfact. They just keep showing me old videos of Andrew Tate looking like he's 19 years old, okay, saying rude stuff on the internet. And yes, this stuff is rude. I don't condone it. I questioned him about that stuff when I interviewed him on my last podcast. Everybody knows where I stand on the topic of webcam businesses and pornography. I don't like any of it. But just because I don't like his past does not mean that I could ever condone locking up somebody for the rest of their lives for something that they didn't do. This is when you start to see the right behave like leftists. It's like when you look at the Donald Trump case and it's because we just don't like him. Find something in his past that we can just lock him down for. Stormy Daniels, that's a thing. Let's take it to the extreme. Who's the crazy woman, Carol, whatever her name was, who said something happened in 94 with Trump and no, there were no witnesses, but who cares? We're going to sue him for hundreds of millions of dollars that the woman didn't even ask for because we don't like Trump. That is what it feels like to me. And it's even crazier because while they were waiting for this trial to be brought forward, because they're feeling confident about what is happening in Bucharest, they are feeling confident that they are going to be proven innocent. Suddenly, knock, knock, the UK's calling because they're opening up the file again. And they're saying, actually, we have warrants for you as well. We want to extradite them from Romania to the UK regarding a case, I kid you not, dating back to 2012. The Brits are requesting to extradite the Tates to the UK regarding legal proceedings that they say pertain to a case dating back to 2012. So I will ask the question. I haven't looked into that case. I'll be honest. I deep dove into the Bucharest case because after I interviewed him in Bucharest, the internet was telling me he was guilty already. And I was crazy. And I looked into it and I said, this is crap. I haven't looked into the UK case, but I'm going to ask you the question that do you think that they are being pursued on the basis that the UK really did say, like, you know what, 12 years ago, I just need to understand what is going on with these brothers. Do you believe that they are villains, the worldwide villains that the media is presenting? And I'm asking you this now knowing that many of you, millions of you, watched my interview with Andrew Tate. I'm going to even show you how they raided his compound last night. I want you to see the police raiding their compound. Take a look at this. And for those of you that are listening on the podcast, yes, they are climbing on to the roof to break in, climbing onto the roof. So again, look at this, knocking into the compound, just going, how can we get into this fortress? We need to raid this place because human sex trafficking, which we should have already had the evidence on the basis of the other 2 times that we raided the compound, well, we need to look for even more evidence. It's got to be in here somewhere, right? Again, still no trial. I'm wondering why this trial, which is receiving so much global attention, won't even begin. It's been going on for years. This doesn't make sense to me, okay? And it doesn't make sense to me because I am aware of all of the many people in the world who have not had their homes raided, who were able to have virtually secret trials take place. I'm speaking about, among one person, Jeffrey Epstein, right? Where were all of these raids and wall-to-wall coverage on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that was actually a part of a human sex trafficking ring? And on the topic of human sex trafficking, since everyone seems to care so much when it comes to Tristan and Andrew Tate, I will ask the question, where's the pro-war lobby at? People are telling us to go never-ending war. They never ask questions about what's happening to all the children. You remember Tristan Tate, you will recall in our interview, asked the question, did you know that tens of thousands of Ukrainian children are missing? Does anybody care about the hundreds of thousands of American children that are missing? No. The only human sex trafficking that matters is when it's Andrew and Tristan Tate. Have you ever seen any of the pornographers, the people that are making billions off of pornography, get arrested? Because we know for a fact that those websites are trafficking or are using trafficked women. You ever seen them crack down on any of those pornographers? Why haven't they done that? So you want me to believe, you want me to essentially just, I guess, defy all of my sensibility for a moment and believe that it's Andrew and Tristan Tate that require cooperation between 2 and maybe even 3 European countries to bring them down because they are just so concerned about what these men plausibly did back in 2012. You want me to believe that? Do you believe that is the question? Because we're now living in a post-media world, right? We know that the media is never telling us the truth about anything. We know that the media decides who the people are that they want to go after. Show me the man, and then I will show you the crime. And I can tell you that regarding their Bucharest case, their case in Romania, it is very much that circumstance on the basis of everything that I have meticulously crawled through. Now, I will tell you what both Andrew and Tristan have tweeted since they've been raided. Andrew tweeted this first: "No Zionists. I am not sorry. Hashtag free Gaza." The implication there being that he thinks that it's because he has taken a stance against Israel's crimes against Gaza. He also tweeted this: 9 hours into the house search, and an armed police officer looks at me apologetically and shrugs his shoulders. He said, quote, "You've made somebody very angry." 9 hours. Sounds to me like they maybe are coming up empty. And Tristan tweeted this: "They are desperate, and I am unafraid of them. The truth will come out, and I look forward to exposing what is happening to me and my brother." And I'm going to show you this clip of the 2 of them. You may not be able to hear it too well on audio, walking out, I think, just because they were going down to the station to see what, if any, charges were being brought against them. My understanding is that they were not arrested, but perhaps they're being detained for a bit. Here is the 2 brothers walking out.
Are you going to put me in jail again? said to give me a trial. No trial, no judge, just jail. Are you ready to stay or get in jail? 2 years, no victims, no pictures of victims, and then the case falls apart, and this all happens again. It seems the matrix is very angry at me. What I've done wrong, who knows, but certainly not. No, it doesn't matter. You know, anyone with a brain understands what's happening.
I am watching this case very closely. I do want to understand what it is, because it does seem, as Andrew and Tristan often say, that the Matrix is attacking them for a variety of reasons. And it's not on the basis of reality. It's on the basis that they believe that these two criminals are essentially El Chapo, needing to be brought down, running an industry so big and so awful that it's going to require cooperation across states to bring them down. That's clearly not the circumstance. It's something else. And I think part of it is because the Tate brothers have seized, as I said, and as I've learned from Dave Smith, the populist right. I think they view that as an intrinsic threat to the establishment. He talked a lot in our interview about globo homo, as he termed it. You know, this sort of global initiative to make everybody a homosexual. And you have a couple of guys who are seizing young men who want to fight, who want to feel a fire in their belly, who believe that they have a sense of purpose. And on that note, for those of you that have not been able yet to watch the interview that we published with the Tate brothers at the end of last week, I'm going to show you a 1-minute clip of me just asking both of them at different times what their advice would be. So we will begin with Tristan Tate's advice to young men. Take a listen.
And what I would say masculinity is, to get back to your question, is very simple. I think it's the mastery of your own emotions and the necessity and the desire to do what's needed to be done, even if it goes against your instincts. So that's all that masculinity is. Again, this I'm cutting back to what I said 45 minutes ago. The willingness to fight is more important than the ability to fight. You would rather have an untrained man who can't fight be happy to go downstairs and face the burglars with his wife upstairs than a jiu-jitsu expert who shit his pants. You know, it's the ability to override reason and say, I need to do this because I need to do this. There was a time when I was in prison and my lawyers had spoken to Andrew on the phone. I famously didn't make a single phone call throughout my entire...
a single phone call?
Not a single phone call. Nope.
Wow, you really are built different.
I am built different. And there was a conversation with my lawyers about, well, this isn't really about Tristan. He's in jail for being your brother. It's not really about him that much. They know this is bullshit. So what we're going to do is we're going to push for a release of Tristan, and we think we'll be able to get that done, and then we'll push for your release later. And when I heard that, I was furious. So natural human emotion and reasoning for myself, self-preservation, is I want to get out of jail, naturally. And I did want to get out of jail. But I said to the officer in charge, I'm not going to say his name, but you know, it's a guy who I spoke to while I was in jail. He was the officer. I said, look, I like you, and you're my favorite police officer that's here. So if they try to take me out of here without Andrew, you're the one I'm going to punch. I'm going to punch you and get assaulting a police officer and get thrown back in here. I'm not going to hit you that hard, but I'm warning you in advance because I like you. You're the one I'm going to strike. So good luck taking me out of jail. I'm happy to override my natural instincts for survival, self-preservation, to do the things that I think need to be done for the people I care about and for the people I love. And I think that's what masculinity is. Not everyone needs to be a 6'4", 240-pound, muscular-bound kickboxer who's handsome and charming and rich and dresses well. But no, that's not what masculinity is. It's not, you know, it's belittled by people like Piers Morgan saying, oh, Andrew, you just stick a cigar in your mouth and pump up your muscles and think that's what... No. Masculinity is much, much more than just that. That speaks to the fact that I can do the things I need to do to be a masculine man. However, I would much rather be willing than capable. If I could switch willingness, if I had to choose willingness or capability, I choose willingness every single time.
I very much agree with that. And we are now living in a circumstance where men are cowards. You know, I've been saying this for a very long time. I was trending over the weekend, speaking about how we have people in the media who won't even stand up against pedophilia. Men that won't stand up against pedophilia because they're worried about losing their station in life if they offend the wrong people. That's pathetic. And so here is what Andrew Tate had to say as a word of advice to men.
The reason they're a coward in the first place is because they're afraid of confrontation. But I want everyone at home to understand, especially if you're a man, that confrontation is certain and it's always going to be around. If you're a king, there's never been a point in human history where you were a king with an empire where people were not trying to take your empire from you. And if you're not a king with an empire, then you're a pawn in somebody else's empire and you're going to have your head chopped off for some reason anyway. Confrontation is certain. If you try to avoid confrontation, you're going to end up in confrontation with yourself. The reason these straight homos are so desperately sad, the reason they have ADHD and anxiety and depression, the reason they're sitting at home, even if they don't admit to these ailments, wondering why they're so unhappy all the time, is because you're fighting an internal battle. Your monologue is different in your mind from what your spirit truly wants. You want to be respected. You want to be strong. You want to stand up for what you know is right. You want to be a man, and you're just too afraid to engage the enemy. So you're going to self-destruct. You're going to turn on yourself. There's a fire inside of you. There's a fire inside of absolutely every man, and you can either direct it at your enemy and do your very best to destroy him, or it's going to burn inside of you and eat you alive. You have to make a choice. The cowardice that you feel that prevents you from engaging the enemy is the biggest betrayal, because now you're just engaging yourself. The battle's certain either way. So I strongly recommend you find who the enemy is and direct your efforts towards their destruction, as opposed to sitting there allowing yourself to self-immolate.
Couldn't agree more. And I hope that everybody goes and finds both of the interviews in their entirety. And I think it will help you understand, despite what you're being told by the media, why it is that they just seem to keep going after these two brothers. It defies common sense when you understand what's happening in this world, when you understand what's happening at our border, when you understand the network of pedophiles that are in power, when you understand how the mainstream media works overtime to defend and protect those pedophiles. It boggles the mind that there would be this much effort and coordination to take down the Tate brothers because some people don't like what they say on the internet. The Romanian case against them has been bogus for a very long time. And as I have said, I believe that in the end, in Romania, they will prevail. We'll continue to follow it, you guys. All right, jumping in, and I just want to throw this to preborn. You guys know I absolutely love them because according to a recent report, Planned Parenthood continues to rake in billions despite having dwindling clients. The biggest takeaway is that Planned Parenthood is generating vast profits, including millions in taxpayer funding. With preborn, that's you and me, we are given the opportunity to steal their clientele, meaning we can rescue the babies that they are trying to kill. Preborn operates on a very slim budget, rescuing over 200 babies' lives every single day. With no government funding, Preborn's network of clinics are situated in the darkest corners of the nation, competing head-to-head with the abortion giants, and they need our help now more than ever. When you donate $28 to Preborn, you will offer a free ultrasound to an expectant mother that is caught in a crisis, because once she hears that heartbeat and sees that precious life, her baby's chance at life doubles. So sponsor a precious baby's life today. Your tax-deductible gift will go directly towards saving babies' lives. Just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's dial pound 250. Keyword baby, or you can head to preborn.com/Candace. Again, preborn.com/Candace. Okay, well, speaking about all of the things that the media seems to be perfectly okay with, we speak a lot on this podcast about the overt sexualization of children. And I saw that Bill Maher was trending, and he was not trending for a very good reason. They were saying that he was speaking about pornography to children. Now, I don't know how old the children are in this clip. It says that he speaks to children that are between 8 and 11 years old. In my view, they look a little bit younger than that, maybe 7 years old. You guys can be the judge, but I want you to hear what he says and think about it. Just think about whether or not this would be an appropriate conversation. Now, to give you the context, this was a clip that was posted known as Bill Maher Talks to Kids. It's just a clip from his Club Random podcast. I guess they're just doing random things, and one of these random things is discussing pornography on the internet with children. Take a listen.
I hear from parents, not that I'm one, but I hear they're very worried about what their kids are seeing on the internet.
I don't think I go on bad websites or anything.
But you could, right?
Yeah, if it takes me to one, I just exit it because there's nothing that...
Well, I mean, say you're interested in, like, climate change, so you start looking on that. That's a big issue. I mean, your kids are worried about it for a good reason. Okay, climate. It leads you to weather. Then you're looking up stuff about the weather. Then it leads you to Stormy Daniels. All right, now you're into porn. Now you're into a porn site. What do?
I exit it.
There you go.
Well, that escalated quickly. Yeah, I mean, you're trying to figure out the weather, and you're like, then next thing you know, Stormy Daniels. What? Go to weather.com, dude. I don't end up with Stormy Daniels when I'm trying to find the weather. That's kind of a weird rabbit hole. And then suddenly Stormy Daniels, boom, porn. And next thing you know, you are looking at Stormy Daniels' flesh. I don't think it happens that quickly, but I do think that when this young woman says, yeah, no, I don't see anything bad on the internet, it's usually probably not the time to sell to her that she might somehow end up on a porn website. It's just weird. Now, I want to be clear. I do think that part of this is being blown out of proportion. I don't necessarily think if this is proof that Bill Maher is a pedophile, but I do think it's proof that he's been in Hollywood for too long. You know, I have been imploring you guys to read a lot of books, and among them, I know it's hard to find the time, but it is an absolute must read. You must read Hollywood Babylon, a book that was written by Kenneth Anger. It blew my mind, and it put Hollywood in an entirely different new context for me, a context in which I understand that it was established to promote pornography. It was established to promote Satanism. And I'm not saying that in a hyperbolic way. I'm not saying that in a way that I'm trying to be controversial. I am saying literally in Hollywood, it was established to promote essentially the Antichrist. Every view that goes against Christ, you had these producers and these directors, even in one scene that it describes, they would bring a bunch of people on set. They would say that they only wanted to book actors and actresses that were homosexual. It was a rule. You had to find actors and actresses that were homosexual. You had directors that would only work with those sorts of individuals who were engaging in pedophilia themselves. Not kidding. This is just real. When you learned the story, the backstory of Paramount in particular and of Metro-Goldwyn, you're just going to be like, what on earth has been going on? And of course, if anything ever got out, well, these people were whacked. Old school style, you just killing people. And then to cover their tracks, of course, they had the media. So it was always meant to introduce all of these things into our society that were perverse. And it shocked me when I learned that they even found this bisexual actress. They were all coming from Germany at the time, and they brought her over and they got her to get women to wear slacks. Women were not wearing pants, trousers, and they made that a thing by having her walk the red carpet and be androgynous and have her hook up with women and hook up with men. Like Hollywood created that. Women were all wearing poodle skirts, and then they were like, that's no longer a thing. And so it's fascinating. You have to understand this because once you recognize that these directors were themselves perverted or were attaching themselves to a religion known as Thelema, which I've spoken to you about, Aleister Crowley's religion comes up, and they were going over and participating overseas. When I mentioned to you that they had a commune, Thelema and Aleister Crowley had a commune, and a lot of elites would go and involve themselves in these sexual rituals. And Mussolini kicked them out of Italy. These are the same people that were at the genesis of Hollywood in America. And so I was looking on the internet for clips of this guy who wrote the book, Kenneth Anger, speaking about this at some length, speaking about his involvement with Alfred Kinsey, who was indoctrinating people with transgenderism early on. And yeah, he was friends with Alfred Kinsey, and he speaks about this sexual commune. So you're looking at a guy who is the writer of Hollywood Babylon, himself a director. Take a listen to this clip of him.
Well, it was just a farmhouse that he did not own. He just leased it in 1920. And Crowley, it was the first commune of people living together who were artists. And maybe they were having sex parties too. It's possible. But of course they were, since they made a religion of eros, so it's frivolous to call them parties. But basically that's what it was. It was like putting a religious aura over sex, as sex is a kind of magical communion, which with good sex is what it is. All right. So keep trying.
Totally normal stuff, my friends. Yes, they believed in sex magic. They were having sex rituals and doing all of this. And then they went and decided to cast a spell on Americans to sexualize society and make them interested in homoeroticism. And that is why Hollywood is and always has been perverted. So when you see somebody that has been in Hollywood for a long time, they don't even recognize this as a perversion, because it's always been kind of a mainstay. So even though he's, thinks he's speaking to them about why they should be careful as they're looking up whether or not it's sunny or storming in Nashville, he doesn't realize that that's just wholly an inappropriate conversation to be having with children, of course, because there is nothing sacred in Hollywood. In fact, Hollywood was built to be explicitly not sacred, to violate any concept of sanctity that we have as human beings. I'm going to show you this final clip of Kenneth Anger because he speaks about Alfred Kinsey, which, as I said, he was sort of one of the fathers of transgenderism and did a lot of work protecting pedophiles in prison and getting their records, learning about how they were, I don't even want to say it, but violating infants, and because he was fascinated with this. And so he worked with them and then lied to the public and said, oh, no, I was working with just regular people and everyone has this inside of them, this sexuality inside of them. Take a listen to Kenneth Anger, author, again, of Hollywood Babylon, a must read, speaking about his relationship with Alfred Kinsey. Take a listen.
Crowley had many enemies, and he was kicked out of, in 1923, of Sicily, of Cefalù, which is a few miles from Palermo, because he was English. And also they thought he was doing black magic, which did not make Mussolini too happy. And so Mussolini said, get rid of that crazy evil Englishman. And so he was given his walking papers, and he had painted all of the walls of a leased house, which isn't a good idea because he never owned the house. This was like, so wonderful oil paintings of, like his bedroom is called La Chambre de Cauchemar, the room of nightmares. And the whole idea of the paintings was to show what nightmares were like. And for instance, on the edge of his bed, he had all these demons looking over the edge of the bed at what was going on in the bed. So he had a great sense of humor. But Mussolini had kicked him out, and then they had ordered the paintings all covered with whitewash. So I spent, in 1955, a whole summer very carefully scraping off the whitewash and using diluted acid to soften it up and then remove it. But under it were these beautiful oil paintings by Crowley. And so that was a thrilling experience. And while I was doing it, the famous sexologist, Dr. Alfred C. Kinsey, came to visit me because he wanted to see these paintings. So there's a photograph of me with Dr. Kinsey in the house, which Crowley called the Abbey of Thelema, which means the will, which was after Rabelais. He adored Rabelais.
So there you have it, folks. How do you feel about that? Yeah, just celebrating Satan, sexual rituals. We've established NASA, and we established Hollywood. And you guys are the crazy ones for noticing. I want to be very clear, for knowing once you start looking into history, it's problematic. It's like 1984. The Ministry of Truth will come out and tell you what to think and what to know. I actually posted earlier today. It's like the media this week. It's Agent Smith in The Matrix. They just show up. They're like, how dare you not know or know something that we have not permitted you to know? And yeah, it's time for everyone to start looking into Thelema. It's time for everyone to start researching the topics I'm telling you about. And I'm just grateful that it seems that you guys do not scare easy, because if you did, I'll tell you one thing, I wouldn't have had a career after this weekend in the way that the media everywhere attacked me. And the people clearly just did not care because they're hungry to understand what's actually happening in this world beyond the surface. Oh, well, it's the left. Oh, well, it's the commies. It's like, no, it's something much more deep-seated than that. And I believe it's biblical. Now, guys, I want to cut to just telling you about ground news, because we all know that there is bias, extreme bias in the mainstream media. I started this show to have honest conversations and fight for freedom of speech, and that is definitively not easy in today's media environment, but there is a news platform that helps me see different perspectives on any news story and understand what's really happening in the world, and that is Ground News. Ground News is an app and a website that prioritizes free speech and transparency without controlling the narrative. They pull related articles from around the world in one place, showing every side of the story and highlighting each source's political bias and corporate influence. Ground News is an incredible tool that cuts through the noise and gives you a clear view of what's really going on. They've even created a blind spot feed that exposes what the other side of the political spectrum isn't covering. It's all about bringing back transparency and promoting honest civil discourse. Ground News prioritizes free speech and transparency. They're independent and they are supported by subscribers, not corporate interests. And they're offering you, my viewers, 40% off their Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to all their features this month. Check them out at ground.news/Candace or scan the QR code on the screen to take control of the news that you consume. All right, let's get into this fun news. Donald Trump on cocaine. All right, you know what I mean? On the subject of cocaine. Now, you know, I was saying, like, it just felt, now that Corey Lewandowski's back, that we're going to get that 2015 energy. I was like, when he used to just like go on Alex Jones and just riff about topics because he didn't think about winning. He probably thought he had no chance of winning. And so he was just so unapologetically himself, and it was so refreshing. And when I saw this clip circulating, he went on the Theo Von podcast. I was like, this is perfect, because Theo Von has a great backstory. You should also watch Theo Von's interview with Tucker Carlson. And because they both speak about, I think Tucker speaks about how he used to have an alcohol problem, and Theo Von speaks about how he used to have a drug problem, and they come out the other side. And that's so relatable to so many Americans, like imperfect characters. And when you get into politics, everybody's pretending to be perfect, and they're not, and they're speaking down to people. And so when you see these really relatable conversations of people just recognizing their own flaws and mistakes they made in their life, it's just refreshing. And so Donald Trump, as we know, when it comes to drugs and alcohol, he is in fact perfect. Notoriously, and I wish he would actually speak about it, because I think it would probably be an incredible story, but he never drank alcohol his entire life because his brother, Fred, died of alcoholism, his older brother, and he made a promise to his brother that he would never touch the stuff. So Donald Trump does not drink. Also, in case you don't know this, Donald Trump Jr. does not drink because he said he liked it too much. So he had to quit early on. And so there are rare people in politics that don't drink. And so, of course, if you don't drink, it's probably assumed that you didn't do cocaine, right? Because if you've never touched alcohol, I feel like it would be quite the jump to just be like, I'm going to do cocaine. And so Trump is clearly very interested when Theo Von starts speaking about how he had a little bit of a cocaine addiction. And the conversation is great. I just want to play it for you guys in case you haven't seen the clip. Take a listen.
Wow, how did you get addicted? How did?
No, I would just do cocaine. That was really, yeah. So not just,
pretty, That's down and dirty, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it was,
But you don't anymore?
No, I don't do it anymore, man, and I'm not doing it.
Is it too much? Too much to handle?
Some of the stuff started to get a real rattle in it, too. I don't know where we were even getting it from in this country, but yeah, it started to make me feel like I was a mechanic or something.
So the thing you go back to then is alcohol for the most part.
Right, yeah, but what I want probably is cocaine, but I know that if I have a drink, then it'll be like, okay, well, I had a drink, then I can do this.
Is cocaine a stronger up?
Yeah. Cocaine
so you're way up with cocaine more than anything else you can think of.
Cocaine will turn you into a damn owl, homie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'll be out on your own porch, you know, and you'll be your own street lamp.
Theo Von just said, the former president of the United States, cocaine will turn you into a damn owl. You know what I'm saying, homie? And Trump is like, yeah. And Trump is secretly thinking, no, I literally don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean, homie, at all, but I'm trying genuinely to understand what you mean. And I just love it. I love this so much. I think this is a beautiful conversation because you see Trump is genuinely interested because he has this genuine interest in people. He's like, whoa, low down and dirty. You're just doing cocaine, man? And he's like, yeah. And wait till Trump finds out, like, probably like too many people in Congress are too. I mean, if they're having sex parties on the congressional floor, it's probably a little bit of cocaine involved somewhere, and nobody gets in trouble either. Kind of a weird story that went away. But I love this moment, and so I just want to rate this 10 out of 10 for the Trump campaign, having done this, speaking, no one cares about CNN, Fox News, all these pretentious podcasts. We just want to hear you speak like a human being about a variety of topics, so we just know where your heart is. And to see that, I guess just that spirit of Trump that we love, which is just when he's yearning to understand people. I love that. 10 out of 10. Love it. More of it. All right, guys, I will just throw it lastly to American Financing before I jump into your comments. And, oh, wow, you guys are blowing up the chat as usual. But I just want to remind you guys that American Financing, if you haven't heard of them and you're stressed because your monthly income just doesn't seem to cover the bills, you should know that you're not alone, because a lot of Americans feel that way right now. Everything's getting more expensive. People are reaching more and more for their credit cards to cover basic expenses like childcare, insurance, power, sometimes even food. And it's really tough if you're feeling that this way is the only way that you can do things via a credit card. Then you should definitely pause and call my friends at American Financing, because they are helping hardworking Americans just like you tap into their home equity to pay off their high interest debt and even create some additional savings to be ready for whatever life throws your way. With interest rates finally dropping, a company like American Financing that never charges anything up front or hidden fees is the perfect partner to help you get into a better financial position. Their consultants are saving homeowners over $800 a month on average. Waiting is not an option. So please call them today. I just realized that I totally dropped the number, but we're going to throw it on the screen, and then I'm going to jump into some of your comments and give you guys the American Financing number. These are things that happen when you go live. Sometimes you just go, oh, wait a second, I completely deleted the number. Kind of know it in my head a little bit, but I'm going to need you guys to throw it on the screen. All right, guys, getting into some of your comments here, we have... First and foremost, this person writes, "Hi, Candace. I watched the Valuetainment video of you today, and they talked about you. They basically made some false claims. Can you tell us if you saw this, and we'll talk about this? I feel like they sold out except for Vinny." Okay, thank you, Sarkan. And by the way, thanks for the super chat. I see that is in euros. So that is very cool. You're writing all the way from Europe. Okay. I have heard about it. I guess my understanding is that PBD thinks that it's not the right time to talk about Israel because we have an election coming up. And obviously, we probably know where Adam stands on that topic because he is very pro-Israel. And Vinny is basically my cousin. So, like, I don't know. Me and Vinny met and we were just long-lost cousins. And so we think exactly alike. So I'm going to guess that Vinny was very pro-Candace. And the comments of the section I saw, and because people were very pro-Candace and were like kind of attacking them and being like, oh, they sold out. I love PBD, and I think he's just a great example of a leader, and he has many times defended me, and I think that if he thinks it's the wrong time, I would challenge his perspective. I think you always, what better time to talk about what America's foreign policy is than in an election season. But I know that if PBD had a disagreement, it was not coming from a bad place. I am not a person that is a feather. You know, I like criticism. I believe in free speech. I believe in radical free speech. I know that I could go down and jump on that podcast today and defend myself and my viewpoints and my timing and everything, and he would welcome me. So I get why people are asking. I know people were just so incensed that he would even have the conversation. But what do we believe in on this show? More speech, not less. And so I sent a joke to PBD. I was like, I see that you're getting kills in the comments. I'm going to come down and defend my honor. He wrote me something back, said we should chat privately. And, I just like PBD. And I know that some people don't feel that way because they are feeling like me, where you're just like, listen, we just want people to acknowledge that the stranglehold had because of what I would really term radical Zionism. I have Zionists, friends, but radical Zionism is something different, but the stranglehold that it has on media, it just feels wrong. It's wrong. And I think that that's why you see the people that are outraged by it, because they're just going, listen, man, like, I can't afford gas and groceries, and I'm being told that we forever have to support Israel. Like, what's going on? I get it. By the way, guys, before I get into this next comment, I do want to say the American Financing number is now up on my screen. So if you want to call them, again, they can tap into your home equity line. The number is 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. You can also visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's americanfinancing.net/Owens. They'll tap into your equity line. They can help you guys saving money. It's definitely the place to call if you are struggling to pay bills, American Financing. Okay, moving on. This person asks, nothing new under the sun is their name. Super chat. They wrote, love you, Candace. I'm a 34-year-old Catholic with a newfound bohemian education. There we go. You've gone deep down the rabbit hole, but can you go down to the Jesuits also? There's something going on with Pope Francis. Yes. I am still doing a lot of research, to be clear, and this is why it was so crazy when everyone was trying to make this a Jewish thing. Once you start learning about Jacob Frank, he they believed in apostasy. So they converted into the Catholic Church. There was this notorious battle between Jews that followed the Torah and Jacob Frank and his new cult. And they were the first ones that kicked him out. So that's why I keep saying it's like they were operating within the Jewish community, and they obviously were not in fact Jewish, but they did this baptism. They all converted, so to speak, into the Catholic Church. And so, yeah, it's problematic. And that brings us to the French Revolution and why I was mentioning Moses de Bruschka, who had 3 different names. Their methodology was to continue to change your name, continue to change your faith to avoid detection. And as I said, since we can draw a direct line from the Frankists and put them into America because of Louis Brandeis, it means that there's more investigation to be done, and definitively within the Catholic Church. This person writes, "Rated again, Lord above, help us all in Jesus' name." That is Baptist writing that. Jessica Toski writes, "I love you, Candace. I want to ask, how do you feel about Trump accepting $100 million from a billionaire Israeli-American physician? AIPAC move? I wish he had not accepted it and had just taken dollar donations from Americans. I think it's best to be free and to not be beholden to anyone. And that is why I love that I get to do the show, because now I'm just beholden to you guys. Like, the show exists because you guys went on to Locals, and I was like, hey, I don't care if you give 50 cents a month, like, keeps me free. And so it doesn't really matter, because now I'm relying on the people. And so it means that if my ideas don't make sense to the people, then I go away, right? But it's not because I feel that I have to say something or not say something. That said, I understand how expensive it is to run a campaign. And so I don't fault him for it. I just wish that we could live in a circumstance where politicians were actually not allowed to accept any money, not via super PACs. Politicians also couldn't be lobbied for anything. I think that we would have an America that just was more honest, more pure. Okay, we have Gil Mayman, and she writes, "Does Candace read super chats?" Gotcha, Jill. Haha, I read yours. My mom Zoe writes, "Criticize Israel, gets raided 2 days later. Amazing timing." RMNL writes, "Free the Tate brothers. It's a Matrix attack." Rebecca writes, "We win, don't we?" Fly writes, "UK wants them for inciting riots now. Pierce is to blame." That is insane. I don't know what's happening in the UK, but I know that it's not free speech. Karim Thomas writes, "I hope Lucifer exists and all these crappy people go to him." Yeah, at the end of life, you will get what you are after. That is true. If you are following Satan, you will meet him one day. And maybe these people want that. Lena writes, "Can't say I respect men that bragged on video about being pimps, but ruining a man's life for absolutely no reason is just vile. Despite their past, I wish all the best for the Tate brothers." I totally agree with you. And like I said, I've never been on board with their videos, but you can see in the videos they keep passing around that they look so young. And I also know that Andrew is a UFC fighter. And so UFC fighters create these characters, and they talk a lot of trash, or he was a kickboxer. They talk a lot of trash. Wrestlers do the exact same thing. And now every single thing he's ever said is being taken literally. And I just don't know how much of that is reality. So I just tried to stay focused on what the actual facts of the case were. JC writes, "Hey, Candace, it's me who asked about Hitler, Christianity, and Father Emmanuel Charles McCarthy's take on it. The email you said to send it to did not work. How can I send this information to you?" info@CandaceOwens.com is the correct email. Matt England writes, "Well done for naming the real enemy. You are based AF." And Sarah writes, "Everyone subscribe to Candace on Locals now. They're punishing her for exposing the devil, but she is a mighty warrior in God's army, and we got her." Thank you. That is so sweet. Please do take the time to go to locals.com. And like I say, if you can only give $2 a month, $1 a month, 50 cents a month, eventually it amasses. And if everyone does that, then suddenly we are so good. And now to end with a really mean note, a negative comment that came my way. Somebody paid $20 to say something mean to me, so I got to respect that. This is the apostate prophet. He said, "Candace is not telling the truth. There's a ton of evidence proving the trafficking case. We will cover it today." Okay, well, I went through the case thoroughly. I am absolutely telling the truth about that case, and you can go find my old video covering that if you'd like to. And I would never lie, because you would just be caught so fast. And again, I'm speaking specifically about the Romanian case, which has been the one, obviously, that they have been facing for the last 3 years. And I covered it extensively and spoke about the women in the case. I read the text messages. I reached out to their lawyers to confirm any questions that I had, because I wanted to actually circle and name the victims as I was going through it, so I completely comprehended it. And I wouldn't lie to people. There would be no, because eventually it would be proven false. I would eventually be proven a liar, and people would lose respect for me. So we will see. One of us will be right. I don't think it's going to be you. You guys, I want to thank you so much for your continued support and just for your continued prayers. For those of you who are like, Candace, I literally cannot, even 50 cents a month. I get it. Just keep up the prayers, because you can do that. Even if you're not a Christian, I know if you're watching this show, I'm bringing you in. I'm bringing you in. I know some people are going to get baptized because of me. At the very least, you can stop, sit down, give your intentions, and pray for people. You feel better. And I promise the prayers are what is keeping me safe. We'll see you guys tomorrow.